the $240,000 man who couldn't afford a flat tire. Sarah looked at her husband's paycheck stub on the kitchen counter. $240,000 a year. Combined with her salary, they were pulling in close to $340,000 as a household. And 2 days earlier, when their car needed a $600 repair, they'd put it on a credit card. Not because they didn't have the money technically, because none of the money was actually sitting anywhere they could touch it without breaking something else. My name is Nick, and I've spent a long time studying a very specific kind of person, someone earning more than 90% of the country, who still feels like they're one bad month away from trouble. There's a name for this now. It's not new, but it's having a moment. They call it a Henry, high earner, not rich yet. So here's the question underneath this whole video. How does someone making $250,000 a year end up feeling exactly as squeezed as someone making a tenth of that? Let's get into it. Forget the stereotype. This isn't some guy blowing his salary on watches and bottle service. The typical Henry looks almost aggressively responsible in paper. Doctor, lawyer, senior engineer, two-income household in an expensive metro, making anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000 a year. And here's the number that should stop you cold. Recent surveys have found that roughly half of people earning six figures or more say they're living paycheck to paycheck, not struggling to save for a yacht. Paycheck to paycheck, the same phrase you'd use for someone making $45,000. The income went up, the feeling of security didn't follow it, and that gap between what the paycheck says and what the bank account feels like is the entire Henry phenomenon in one sentence.
Let's do the unglamorous math, because this is where people's brains break a little. Take that $340,000 household. In a lot of expensive metro areas, you're already losing a third of it to federal and state income tax before you see a dollar. That's over $100,000 gone before it ever touches a bank account. Then there's the mortgage. In a lot of coastal cities, a starter home for a family now runs well over $1 million, which means a mortgage payment that can eat $6,000 to $8,000 a month on its own. Add daycare for 2 kids, which in many major cities now runs $2,000 to $3,000 a month per kid, and you've already built a monthly bill that looks like a small company's payroll. Student loans didn't go anywhere either. A lot of Henrys spent their 20s in school instead of earning, and they're still paying that tuition off in their late 30s. While they're non-professional, peers have a decade head start on saving. By the time you add health insurance premiums, 2 car payments, and a retirement contribution that a financial advisor keeps insisting on, the $250,000 income has been fully spoken for before a single vacation or dinner out. Here's the part that makes this different from just being broke. Henrys aren't broke because they can't afford things. They're broke because every single raise came with a lifestyle upgrade already waiting to absorb it. The apartment became a house. The house became a bigger house in a better school district. The economy car became 2 decent cars. The 2-week vacation became business class. None of it feels like excess in the moment. It all feels like a reasonable adjustment for someone earning what they earn. That's the trap. Lifestyle creep never feels like creep from the inside. It feels like keeping up. A psychologist who studies this put it about as bluntly as it gets. Earning money doesn't make you feel rich. Spending it does. If you spend 99% of what you make, you will feel rich right up until the moment something breaks. And that's exactly what happens. The income rises in a straight line. The spending rises right alongside it, almost perfectly matched, step for step, which means the actual gap, the number that turns into savings, into investments, into an emergency fund, never gets any wider. It's the same gap it was 10 years ago. It just has more zeros dressed up around it. This is the part that should genuinely worry people more than it does. A lot of Henrys have almost nothing sitting in an actual, liquid, I can spend this tomorrow account. Their net worth, if they have any built up, is usually locked in home equity or retirement accounts they can't touch without a penalty, which means the surface of the life, the house, the cars, the private school, is completely real. And underneath it, there's often less of a safety net than a household making a third as much but living below its means. Ask a Henry what happens if they lose their job for 6 months, and a lot of them go quiet. Not because they're careless people, because the entire structure was built assuming the income keeps arriving on schedule forever, without interruption. One of the wealth researchers who studies this calls it exactly what it is. The vigilance itself is supposed to be the safety net, because there often isn't a real one underneath. Here's the part that breaks the whole fantasy. A lot of people assume the number, where you finally relax, is just higher than they currently make. Once I hit 6 figures, I'll feel it. Once I hit 2, I'll feel it. But talk to actual Henrys making $300,000 or $400,000. And the anxiety hasn't gone anywhere. It just moved up a floor. They're not worried about rent anymore. They're worried about whether they're saving enough to retire at the lifestyle they've built. The number that would make them feel secure keeps being roughly double whatever they currently have. No matter what they currently have. That's not a coincidence. That's just how the brain calibrates. Your sense of enough isn't a fixed destination. It's a moving target that resets the second you reach it. And it resets specifically to just past your own horizon. So it never actually arrives. The uncomfortable truth is that the fix was never going to be another raise. Financial planners who work with this exact group all say some version of the same thing. The shift that actually works isn't earning more.